Welcome to the Future of Real Estate, your chance to find out what's going on in real estate and the real estate market. This morning show is brought to you by the Ellis team at RE/MAX Realty Group. RE/MAX is award winner for most transactions in Florida.
With the Ellis team at RE/MAX, it's a family affair. Always call the Ellis team, they'll handle you with care.
Good morning and welcome to the Future of Real Estate. I'm Brett Ellis of the Ellis team at RE/MAX Realty Group. I'm joined today by my mother and father, Sandy and Mike Ellis. If you haven't joined us before, you're in for a real treat. On this show, we talk about real estate issues affecting you. We offer tips and insight you won't get anywhere else. Now, later on in the show, we're going to talk about some of our featured properties of the week. So if you hear about a property that sounds interesting, or if you like information on other properties, regardless of which company has a listing, agents are standing by right now. You can always call us at 239-489-4042, and we'll be happy to take your call and give you the information you'd like. Now, if you're a seller and you'd like your home featured here, you can call us too. Being featured on this radio show and listed with the Ellis team is great exposure and just another example of the many ways we make your home stand out from the crowd. Our phone number again is 239-489-4042. Our website is topagent.com. By the way, for our radio listeners out there, we are simulcasting this. We are on video as well as 3 radio stations. So welcome. And to our radio listeners, if you hear about something that sounds interesting and we're talking about some graphs on the show, you could go to topagent.com and kind of watch and see what we're talking about. So let's get started.
Helpful. Yeah.
Welcome to the show. All right. So now what we're talking about, why don't we start off with today's news press article.
That was a good article, Brett.
It is. And we're talking about, from an insider's point of view, since we do a lot of foreclosure listings, and we have for many of the banks, is, buyers get frustrated. They want to know, how can I get these properties? And they get very frustrated because they seem to put 20 offers in and they get beat out 20 different times.
Yeah, you even mentioned in the article they all want to call in and talk to the listing agent because they think the listing agent can give them better information.
They do. So in this article, we give, how many points is it? We give about 9 tips on things that you could do. And I want to go through some of those tips on how to start winning on some of these bids. And then next, I also want to talk about a couple of the graphs that are in the article. Now, here's the graphs. But what I think we'll do is we'll cut to screen and we'll talk about some of the graphs. So Dave, if you could pull up the graph, the list price to sales price ratio graph. And what that graph is, there's 2 different ways to look at this, but the average list price to sale price ratio is 99.02% for foreclosure listings. These are all the listings in Lee County that sold. There's 8,080 of them that have sold so far year to date. And it's 99.02%. Now, if you take it on median price, it's actually 101.8%. So what we're really saying here is these properties go at or above full price.
Well, and if you're talking about median, that means that most of them sell for more than asking price.
Exactly. Median or average. It's just a statistical measure. Now, it's kind of that old axiom you heard people say, if you're going to steal, don't do it in slow motion. If you see a good buy, go get it.
Right.
Don't mess around. A lot of people think, hey, I will offer 20% less, and I think I'll be the winning bid. And you know what? That's one of the first mistakes people make. Going in that bank bargains, foreclosures tend to be bargains. Oh, there might be a couple of them out there that are overpriced, but by and large, the average goes at full price or above full price.
Well, and not only that, very often they come in, like you do a BPO on them when you first get them, right? And I've seen them where the bank came in far less than we really thought they would list the price for. So they're not only a good value, they're generally an outstanding value.
Before we actually get into some of these tips, I want to talk about what is the average, because a lot of people think bank foreclosures are weighing the market down. They kind of become the market.
They become the market.
Last week,
they are the market.
We showed some graphs. We might even get to it a little bit later in the show, how much of the market is distressed. So the average foreclosure, and Dave, if you could go to the next graph, the average price is $84,196. Now the median is at $67,720, I believe. But on this graph, we just use the average. So guess what the median price is for Lee County? It's about $89,000. So the average and the median, average foreclosure price is $84,000. Now the median foreclosure price is $67,000. So they are weighing the market down, but they do become the market.
Become the market, yeah.
Well, on some of the averages, though, some of this is really distressed property as far as conditions go, too. if it's a distressed price based on the market is one thing, but if it's distressed based on the condition of the property, it's a different issue. So the averages are assuming, I think a lot of people assume that it's the market conditions and not factoring in the property conditions.
Very good. Now we've got 8 more points to get through in this segment if we can do it here. So we've already gone through point number 1, which is don't steal in slow motion. Go get it. Okay, offer full price or better. And if it's really a deal, don't be afraid to offer over full price.
Well, I guess, yeah.
Number 2, find out what the bank wants. If you're a cash buyer, get your cash statements, get your bank statements, show proof of funds because they almost all want them up front. Or go get a pre-approval letter up front. And some banks, especially the bigger banks, want pre-approval letters from their own lender.
Yeah.
So let's say it's Bank of America or Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo may require a Wells Fargo pre-approval. Why? Because they're used to seeing pre-approvals from XYZ mortgage broker, and then the guy never closes.
That's right.
They want to make sure, at least, one, they got a crack at getting the loan, but more importantly, number 2, that they're actually pre-approved, and they don't want to take it off the market for someone who's not.
And you can't blame them for that. And to try to circumvent that, some people call in and they say, oh, but I already have an approval from X. Can I use that? No, you can't. Use the one that's required, or you're going to end up not getting the property because you've got to get in there first.
We got about 3 minutes left here. So number 3, more money you put in escrow, just like a normal deal, the better it looks to the asset manager.
Yeah.
You're trying to impress the asset manager. The asset manager doesn't care, you know, who you are, that you got a family of 3 kids, that you're trying to, they don't care.
Yeah. Show us your strength.
As a matter of fact, none of that goes in. We input the stuff online, all the facts. They don't care anything. They're just looking at numbers.
And the strength.
Exactly. Number 4, make sure it's not contingent on the sale of another property because it will not fly.
It will not fly, yeah.
Number 5, work with an agent familiar with the process. You know, agents who know how to put these bids in can counsel you as terms of what to put in, what not to put in, what's going to look good to the bank. Work with someone like that. Number 6 is use an experienced agent. Sandy, I can't tell you how many offers I've seen lately where the offers just don't make sense. They're poorly worded. And if they don't make sense to us, they're not going to make sense to an asset manager. The asset manager loses confidence in that deal because they can't, because there's 2 things. There's the quality of the buyer and there's the quality of the agent. If the agent is weak, sometimes you need that agent to counsel the buyer to tell them, you know, why they should do this or do that. If you got a weak agent,
you can't tell the strength of the buyer. I mean, it actually
you're right.
works counterproductive to what you're trying to accomplish.
And the strength of the buyer may not be a strength because they don't have good counsel telling them what to do or what not to do.
And you could have a great buyer that looks weak because of the way the contract was written.
Number 7, asset managers get graded. They get graded on, does the property close on time within a specific time period, and the list price to sales price ratio. So if this, you know, if you think you're going to offer low, the asset manager is not going to take it. And if something happens where this doesn't close, they get very upset because their grade goes way down. I don't know if their pay is related to it or not, but I know they get graded. I know this for a fact. So if you say November 23rd closing and it closes December 23rd, they're not happy. Okay?
Well, typically, even on the addendum, there's a penalty if you delay that closing.
Well, a lot of times there could be a per diem. And number 9 is do your homework because you don't have a lot of time. You need to know the market going in up front. You need to know if it's priced right. Chances are it is, but just because it's a bank foreclosure, don't assume that. And be prepared and go in with your best offer. Maybe if you know the property's coming on the market, have your inspections done ahead of time. If it's a VA property, they don't allow inspections done after the fact. You're buying it as is. So these 9 tips I think will help people. But the main thing is work with an experienced agent. If you do that, the other 8 tips will fall in line. You'll start nailing some of these. You'll start, if it's your investor, you might get 1 or 2. If you're a primary home buyer, you might get the home of your dreams, or at least one that's going to set you up. And that would be our 9 tips of the day. And if you want copies of this, you can look for today's Fort Myers News Press, or you go to news-press.com and look in the Home Finder section.
Okay, so if you don't take the paper, you can still access this.
Absolutely.
Good.
And it's also located on our blog at blog.topagent.com. You're listening to The Future of Real Estate presented by the Ellis team at RE/MAX. We hope this segment was beneficial for you. It is on video, so if you caught this on radio, all the graphs and everything's there. And stay tuned because we got lots more to the show, and we'll be right back.